It is an absolute huge honor for me today to be podcast interviewing Barbara Freet with humanresourceadvisors.com. And I have to give a big shout out to orthodontist Anne-Marie Gorsica, who I've done 500 shows, and she's delivered me more rocking hot guests than the next 10 referrals combined. I don't know why Anne-Marie is so nice to me, but she is amazing. And Barbara, I'm so interested in doing interviewing you today because I think HR is 100 times harder than a root canal, a filling, or a crown. I mean, look at a root canal. You're drilling a hole in a rock. You're taking these little barbed wires, pulling the guts out, rinsing it with household bleach, and smashing pink rubber down into the tooth. And people think that's complicated. Like, look at a cardiovascular surgeon. I mean, he's a plumber. He's a glorified plumber. He goes in there and takes out some clogged arteries, gets some clean ones out of your leg, sews them back together, and everybody thinks he's a rocket scientist. You, on the other hand, are spent your whole life trying to figure out the abyss of the human mind, which is completely batshit crazy. And everybody knows that I don't care how good of a dentist you are. If you got 5 crazy people working for you, if you have turnover, if every time a patient comes in, you have a different hygienist, if while you're working on a patient, your assistant's giving you attitude and weird behavior, when I answer the phone, if I don't, I mean, Southwest Airlines says, hire on attitude, train for skill. So my first question to you is, to go into HR, are you just a glutton for punishment? I mean, did you just like so hate yourself you just wanted to spend the rest of your life torturing yourself, figuring out crazy people?
I like stories. I like stories. Stories are about people, and people tell the best stories. So my job starts every day with a call and somebody says, I have an employee who, and then I get to hear the story. So it's about the stories. Now, yes, I apply law, employment law. We know employment law. That's my bird clock you're hearing in the background, by the way. We know how to apply employment law to people's situations, but it's all about the story, Howard. I love the stories.
Okay, well, here's what you're talking. You're talking to several thousand dentists who spent 8 years learning math, physics, chemistry, biology, root canals, fillings, and crowns. Podcasters are young. They're usually 30 and under. So now they come out of school. They think they're a genius because they all made straight A's. They got in dental school. They graduated, and they think they know it all. Yeah. And now they're about to start hiring people, working with people, even if they're an employee, getting along with people. So talk to them. What's the ABCs of HR?
Structure. You need some structure because structure is going to help you. It's like living in a house. The better the house, the more safe you are, the more you can withstand the weather, etc. You need an HR structure. It doesn't have to be fancy. It just has to be workable, useful, and legal. And the structure consists of an employee handbook. An employee handbook or an employee manual, it's known by several names. Consider it the foundation of your house. If you have a strong foundation, everything else that you build on top of it that makes your house particular to you is going to be great. If you don't have it, not so great. So an employee handbook captures your culture, your mission, but it also is what legally represents your desire to comply with the law. It communicates your benefits or lack thereof, whatever it is. There's a lot of things that various federal and states require that you have in written form. So why not put them all in one place? That's the first thing you need. That's your foundation. Job descriptions are the second thing. It's the job description that clarifies responsibilities. Plus, if you put the physical requirements of the job in there, then you can send that off to the doctor if somebody breaks their leg skiing or falls down the back stairs. That's what the doctor uses to say, this hygienist has to sit down every 20 minutes, whatever it is. So those two things are the key elements of your structure. Also, your new hire documents. What are you supposed to give to people when you hire them? An offer letter that memorializes what you've offered. Those kinds of things. That's your structure. And within that, then you can do everything else.
Okay, you said 4. I wrote down 3. Employee handbook manual, job descriptions, new hire documents. Was there a 4th?
Oh, there's a whole bunch. When it comes to the forms side of things, The fourth thing is certainly how you hire. You'll save yourself a lot of grief if you hire well. And my theory is hire slowly, fire quickly. So if you know what you're looking for, you can develop questions. So the fourth thing is, Howard, interview questions that get you what you want. Most people sit down with a person and they think that they can get a feel for them. They can see if they'll be a fit or some other amorphous kind of statement. You need to be able to develop questions that get you the answers that you want to determine if this person's going to fit in your organization. So, for example, your front desk person has to be somebody who has people skills. Well, how are you going to know if this person has people skills? People interview well. The same thing with your bookkeeper. That person needs to be a tracker. They have to track down the details. I've been interviewing people for years. I've been recruiting for years. And who they are in the interview, as we all know, is not necessarily who they are when they work for you. So a good hiring methodology with the right questions to get the information you need, that's the fourth essential.
So now let's back up in employee handbook. Now you're in Lafayette, California?
Yep.
And what is that, a suburb of what?
San Francisco.
Okay, so you're in San Fran. And so when it comes to legalities, I mean, California is probably the worst state for legalities, regulation, all that kind of stuff. So
Sure.
Socrates said the best physician served in war. I imagine if you were going to be in HR that you're living in hell right now and wish that you were in the other Lafayette, Louisiana.
Exactly.
But on these employee handbook manuals, is that something they can buy? Do you just sell it to them? I mean, do they have that?
No. They certainly can buy it from us. We only write customized handbooks. So all handbooks have federal and state law. And then on top of that, it's customized for everything that's particular to the practice. We don't just sell a handbook and let people customize it into illegality. There's a false sense of security if you buy somebody else's, or if one of your colleagues gives you their handbook, don't take a handbook that's given to you. That you don't even know if it's legal. And then you have a false sense of security. So yes, it starts with that base of the law, and after that we build everything that is customized for that practice.
So you do that for you can do that for a dentist in all 50 states?
All 50 states.
What about Canada?
I used to do Canada. Canada's too much. So not Canada.
But if Trump wins, Canada's population is going to double.
Well,
Yeah.
that might be true. In that case, I might have to reconsider.
You'll have so many California dentists living in Canada. So you can do this for all dentists in all 50 states.
That's correct.
I'm telling you, the best marketing you could do is make an HR course on Dental Town that explains all this stuff.
I will be happy to.
Yeah, we put up online C courses, and we've put up 350 courses, and they've been viewed 650,000 times. And and the thing is, I always tell these dentists, they think they were so trained in 8 years of college, and HR is no different. I don't care if you own the 49ers, it's all HR. If you don't have the best quarterback, you have nothing. I don't care if you're a basketball team. I don't care what you are. A dental office is only as strong as the weakest member of its team. And it's all and dentists don't want to hear the soft skills. They're just like, will you shut up and start talking about a root canal? I want to know how you do a root canal. I don't care about all this, people, soft, weird stuff. And it's actually the most important part of the business. And it's the hardest part of the business. And even if look who won the Super Bowl last year, the Denver Broncos. And the game wasn't even over 15 minutes, and their star quarterback says, I retired. I mean, it's always HR. Yes. It's HR nightmares 1 minute after you win the damn Super Bowl. You're like, oh, shit, now we got to start all over again with a brand new employee. And it's crazy. Usually this is what my homies do. Your assistant gets ran over by a Mack truck. She gets married. She runs off with a truck driver. They put an ad in Craigslist. Yep. Monday, 2 people call, and they hire one of those 2. What do you think of that process?
It's a little bit like closing your eyes and putting your finger on a name in the telephone directory and picking a dentist like that. You'll get whoever you get. I'm going to write a book one day, Howard, and it's going to be titled But I thought, that if I hired somebody and they looked good and they interviewed well, I'd be good to go. No, you have to have both an effective, but you also have to have a really legal and helpful hiring process. It's your processes that save you. Yeah, she may interview well. Do you know how many times people have not checked references and have had employees from their front desk hauled off by the police? I can tell stories. Maybe I will one of these days. No, you don't know who you're getting. That person, you know who the best interviewee is? The embezzler. She's an expert, and she'll tell you she'll handle everything. Well, of course she will. And she'll handle you right into the poorhouse. So yeah, you have to have a process. It doesn't have to be super formal, but if you put it in place once, it's good. You're good to go.
Okay, I want to have you weigh in on a debate that's been going on Dentaltown since 1998. I hired you as a dentist for me. I don't want to pay your FICA matching. So for 7.5%, I don't want to match it. So I already have to pay you $1 an hour. I don't want to make it $1.07.5. So I'm going to hire you as an independent contractor, and then I don't have to pay your matching. And then this is what happens: that young dentist out of school starts getting these paychecks and thinks, "Oh my God, I'm rich," and they start going out to eat and all this stuff. And then they find out a year later, the IRS says, "Oh, dude, you owe us 40 grand," and they're like, "What? What do you mean I owe you 40 grand? I only got $12 in my savings account." And I always say, an independent contractor is like, if I'm building a house. I'm not a plumber, so I have a plumber. He brings his own plumbing stuff, his own tools, his own expertise. I can't do his job, so I just give him the money, and then he files that as an independent contractor. And then I hire an electrician. Then I hire all these people. But at a dental office, this dentist is coming into your dental office with your hours and your staff and your protocol, using all your stuff. Is he really an independent contractor? Because you're talking to a lot of people under 30, and some of these people are out there getting jobs, and they might have 2 job offers. In one job, he'll be an employee, and the other job, she'll be an independent contractor. So what are your thoughts on the independent contractor?
This comes up a lot, and here are my thoughts. First of all, if anybody wants the IRS form on determining the guidance about determining if somebody's an independent contractor, they can certainly email me. And I guess you'll give my email address at some point, Howard, right?
Well, it's Barbara at hradvisors.net.
Right, and it's advisors.net. Yes, advisors.
And what it'd be amazingly cool is Dentaltown has 50 categories. If you'd log on to Dentaltown and go to HR and post that,
I will.
That would be cool too.
I'll post it.
You'll post that form, okay?
I will. So here's the thing about independent contractors. People in yesteryear thought that they could decide if they wanted to be an independent contractor or an employee. And so they would go, and somebody said this to me this morning, as a matter of fact, "I'll be an independent contractor if you like, or an employee." The IRS is cracking down on that like mad because of the taxes. So people can't choose. You can't have a dentist that comes and says, "I'll be an independent contractor," and you say, "Terrific," because you're not going to have to pay the taxes. The reason that that's the case is if somebody is doing your core business, i.e. dentistry, and they're using your tools, as Howard mentioned, and they're working in your office and you decide the hours, they are not an independent contractor. As Howard said, a plumber is not doing Howard's core business, or an IT person, or a janitor. Those, or me for that matter. If I'm outsourcing your HR. We're independent contractors. Everybody else is an employee. They might be an on-call employee, they might be a temporary, they might be a part-time, but they're an employee. And you have to take the taxes out. And you know, Howard, where the rubber meets the road is in the states that have unemployment and workers' comp. The only state that doesn't have workers' comp is Texas, but everybody else has to offer workers' comp. Workers' comp doesn't cover your independent contractors, and independent contractors can't collect unemployment. They're in business for themselves. And so what happens is you hire this person as an independent contractor, and then you let them go, and they try to file for unemployment. They're not covered, and then they make a claim, and you got to pay all the back taxes and all the penalties. So just hire people as
About every 3 years, I hear about a dentist who had an associate work for him for 5, 6, 7 years, never paid taxes. The
mm-hmm.
IRS came, they didn't have a dime, and the IRS sued the owner dentist. And you're talking about taxes over a 7 year period, and they literally had to go get a mortgage on their house
Yes.
to pay the IRS bill.
And now there are penalties. If you misclassify, the penalties are from $5,000 to $25,000 per person. So if you have more than one independent contractor, you're going to pay a pile of money in addition to those taxes.
So give some verbal skills. She's 25 years old. So this is August 11th. So 2 months ago, 6,000 dentists walked out of school, dental school in the United States, 56 dental schools, 6,000 kids, and they're knocking on dentist doors, and the dentist says, you'll be an independent contractor. What should she say to that old, fat, bald dentist?
It's not in your best interest to make me an independent contractor. It's really in your best interest to make me an employee.
And, well, I don't want to pay. I don't want to pay your FICA. I don't. It's cheap. It's lower taxes for me.
I understand. I really get it. But the legal situation is such that it isn't in your best interest. It's cheaper to pay the taxes than the penalties if I'm misclassified.
Nice. Okay, so this is Dentistry Uncensored. So I want an employee handbook. I've spent the last 20 years just going to root canal conventions. I don't have an employee handbook. How much does that cost me? How long does that take? How does it? Do I just like tell you I'm in Wichita, Kansas? So you just tell me how it works, what it costs, how I do this.
If you're in Wichita, Kansas, and you call, we'll say to you, how many employees do you have, Howard? And you'll say whatever number that is. And then we will send you a first draft of a Kansas-specific handbook. Did you say Kansas? Now I'm listening to myself.
Yeah, Kansas.
Yeah, Wichita Falls. So we will send you a Kansas handbook based on your number of employees, your location, and what laws apply to you. We do not believe in overburdening our clients with laws that don't apply to them. That's why there's such a danger in taking somebody else's handbook. And it's customized for you. So we send you the first draft. You go through the first draft. You'll work with Amy in our office. She's been here 15 years, excellent at her craft. And she'll say, do you want to pay for jury duty or not pay for jury duty? Do you want, and so she'll ask questions. You make your mind up. You can call as many times as you want to discuss all the issues related to the handbook at no extra charge. It's going to cost you $1,350. And we'll make as many drafts as you need. And when you get finished, you have a handbook that is specific to your practice with your mission, your values, your philosophy, your vacation plan, everything you want, and you're in complete compliance. You can take that handbook under your arm to any government agency. You'll be good to go.
And how often does this have to be updated? How does that work?
If you're in Kansas, not as often as California.
Right.
If you're in California, every year. If you're in Kansas, it will depend. I mean, we have access and resources for every state. Some states, of course, are worse than others. So every year for California, other states, it depends. Every year, every 2 years, maybe every 3 if you're in South Dakota.
Yeah, it's just an honor to be born. I was born in Wichita, Kansas, the only state that teaches creationism. They haven't even got to evolution yet. Now you say now go to job descriptions. Do you do job descriptions for dentistry too?
We do. We have written job descriptions with the help of an excellent, prominent dentist, Dr. Richard Plash, who has spent hours. I had to buy him lots of dinners to thank him. Hours helping with every single position in the dental office. We've also written for orthodontia. And they comply with all the laws. They include the essential functions of the job, the marginal functions, and employees sign off on them, saying that they understand their responsibilities. And we have matching performance appraisals. So in the performance appraisals that we have written, they jump off the job description. So if you're going to tell a front desk person, for example, that she has to answer the phone and screen and route calls correctly, then what are the standards that go with that function? So the performance appraisals jump off the job descriptions, and they're all made in Word so you can amend them to fit your office. They're already done. And I haven't raised the price in 10 years. I probably should raise the price. They're $50 a piece. And the set is $85.
I don't think 98% of the people listening know what a performance evaluation is.
It is, what it is the job description is a what document. What are the responsibilities that go with this job? A performance evaluation is a how document. How is this person doing in those functions that they are responsible for? So the performance evaluation shows the standards by which you're going to judge this person's performance in each of the functional areas that they are responsible for. And that's what makes it so good, because then expectations are made clear to the employee. I can't tell you how many employers of every kind think, oh, just do your job. You know what your job is about. Just do it and don't bother me. Well, they're not clear about the expectations, and so consequently the person doesn't do a good job because they're not clear about the expectations either.
Yeah, but see, none of that matters in dentistry because all the dentists give their employees a raise every time the earth goes around the sun one time. It's all based on astrology. So why would you have a performance evaluation when the pay raise was discovered by Galileo, when him and Copernicus figured out that the earth goes around the sun one time a year, and that's when everybody gets another $1 an hour?
And you know what? If I'm the dentist down the corner, I'll take your best people. Because your best people don't like the fact that everybody gets a raise because the earth goes around the sun, and they don't like the fact that you're not doing anything about the people who are not performing.
So you almost said that the sun went around the earth, so I assume you're Catholic.
I'm not Catholic. No,
Galileo had to spend the last 7 years of his life in jail by the Catholic Church because he argued with the Pope on that.
Yeah.
So okay, I ask you a realistic question. What % of dentists in America do you think have an employee handbook, job descriptions, and performance evaluations?
Well, a lot of our clients do, and we have 600 dentists. So,
dang, that is amazing.
Yeah, we have a lot of dentists. We're the outsourced HR, fortunately, for a lot of really great dentists. So all of them, we do 150 to 200 handbooks a year. So of our clients, a lot of them do. But dentists in general, 5%.
I know. I know.
Very many. Yeah, they don't get it. And the nice thing about an employee handbook is it's a great scapegoat. You know, you can say, sorry, the handbook says such and such. The fact that you wrote the handbook or had an influence on it is secondary. But yeah, handbook is great and keeps everybody on track.
Okay, this is what keeps up my homies at night. Okay. I so want to fire one of my employees, but I'm just afraid I'm going to get sued. I don't even know why. I mean, I want to fire her, but am I going to get sued? And so talk about that.
I get that call 3 times a week, every week.
And that's just from my office.
Yeah, that's just from your office. I get that. That is how people start the sentence. You're absolutely right, Howard. People have this kind of generalized fear of being sued. They don't know for what, but it feels like somebody can sue them and come around the back of the building and whack them. So what I do is say, and I have staff, what we say is why. Why do you want to fire Mary? My apologies to Mary's in the audience. Why do you want to fire Mary? Because she blah, 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 whatever it is. Our job is to get you to where you can do what you want, but do it legally and safely. So I'm certainly going to say, how much documentation do you have? And the person's going to say, not much. And I'm going to say, okay, let's consider some options. And so what we will do is give options. Maybe we'll use a performance improvement plan where you kind of summarize all the things that aren't working. And that's good documentation. You give a person a chance to improve. And what usually happens with a performance improvement plan, fondly known as a PIP, what usually happens with a PIP is...
What is a PIP? Say it again, a performance
improvement plan.
Okay.
And if somebody, certainly we can give you guidance on what that looks like. But it has on the one side the standards. So on one side it'll say you have to be at morning huddle at 7:45 every morning. On the other side it said you drag in here at 8:10. That's not working. And so the performance improvement plan summarizes all the issues and gives the person, say, 30 days to shape up. Well, one of two things happens. They either shape up or they look for another job. Either way, it's to your benefit. So we coach people through all of those things. We write things for, if I say to you, you need to send Mary a letter, she's pregnant, I write the letter for you. I don't just tell you and you've got to go off thinking, what do I say? So we do it for you as your outsourced HR department. But that's what happens. We find out what it is and why, and we plan how to do it effectively. And then I have stayed on the phone with people when they've terminated people. I've been flown places like, who was that? Tom Cruise. Flown places to terminate people. It can be done, but we just want it to be done safely.
Who's crazier, Tom Cruise or Trump?
I am not getting into a political discussion with you.
They say never talk about religion, sex, politics, or violence. So let's start with violence. Let's another one, and I hear this seriously once a week. There's a thread on it once a week at on Dental Town. I think my assistant's stoned. Sometimes when she comes back from work, I just think she's stoned. I mean, I don't know, but I think she's stoned. What do you do with an employee when you think they're coming to work impaired in the morning, or definitely coming back from lunch impaired?
That happens often too. I get that one frequently.
Well, I'm sure in California, the land of nuts and flakes and hippies and marijuana, but
Right.
you get that one too. Yeah. What do you do when you? I mean, would you just walk up there and say, "Dude, are you stoned?" Or what would you do?
You could, but you observe. But keep in mind, all the things that happen to people really boil down to at the end of the day, how is their performance? If somebody is stoned, or you think they're stoned, but their performance is great, they're interacting great with patients as they come in the door, they're doing what they're supposed to do, it could be medication that's doing something else. They may not be stoned at all. At the end of the day, your job as an employer is to look at their performance and assume nothing. If their performance is impaired, this person, and their pupils are, gigantic holes and all that the rest of that stuff, document it, sit down with them and say to them, here's the effect of whatever is going on with you. Here's the effect on your performance. You're not doing this, you're not doing that. Focus on the performance. Assume nothing. And just say, what are you going to do to improve it? If they're out Fridays and Mondays, if there's all these other patterns of behavior, yes, of course, you can say, I think you're stoned. I think you're drinking.
Okay, so let's switch to benefits and pay and all that stuff. So this is the problem in dentistry. So all these dental offices have this mindset of the 70s and 80s, where you took your cost plus profit equals price, you sent it to the insurance, and they just told you what percent they were going to pay. 100% for cleaning exams, x-rays, 80% for fillings, root canals, half for crowns. Well, then over the 80s, 90s, 2000s, the insurance company said, we're going to reverse this. Instead of you sending us your fees and we pay a percent, we're going to send you the fees, thus a PPO. And of course, they lowered the fees 40%. So now 82% of the dental offices are taking PPOs, but they got this 70s, 80s mindset in their head of how a dental office should be, and that every hygienist should get an hour to do a cleaning, and you should buy all this fancy technology. And then every time the earth goes around the sun, they threw everybody another dollar. And now the dentists are looking at their dental income peaked in 2005 at $219,000 a year. It's gone down about $3,800 a year for a decade. And now it's down to $174. So every dentist I talk to is looking at their overhead and saying, dude, does everybody pay health insurance? Does everybody pay dental? My labor is crazy out of control. So what you got a lot, you got a huge sample size. You got 600 dentists. What are the trends in benefits and in labor and because that's the number one cost of every company in America is payroll, not the electric bill. I mean, if you want to invest $10,000 for solar panels to lower your light bill, you miss the whole boat. I mean, after you make payroll, who cares what your electric bill is?
And that's true of my company too. I have 11 people, and I completely agree. The trend is this. It used to be that a lot of most dentists did not offer group health insurance coverage. And a lot of dentists gave what they were calling a medical reimbursement. So they'd give everybody $200 a month, and that was to apply to whatever insurance they had or didn't have or whatever. And that sometimes that was one way that it was handled. What's happening now is more and more dentists, pardon me, are offering group health insurance. And if they have Kaiser or some HMO kind of thing, they might have to pay half of the premium. But still, there's not nearly the dentists that are offering those kinds of benefits as other non-dental employers. The thing that is most troubling is the $200 or $400 or whatever the number was that you used to be able to pay employees. You could even use it as an expense on your P&L and just write a check, and it was a reimbursement, an expense reimbursement. You can't do that anymore. Now under Obamacare, you have to put it in their salary and tax them on it because it's income. And then it goes on their W-2 under the medical, how much you're spending on medical. A lot of doctors are doing absolutely nothing. They are not paying for health insurance, and they're not giving any kind of money to reimburse or help. And they pretty much assume that their employees are either going to have to get it through their spouse or go on the state exchange and get it through Obamacare. So the majority are doing that.
I felt a little disingenuous. My dental office is coming up on 30 years. I remember after 20 years, it was a 2008 meltdown. Mm-hmm. And revenue was going down, across the board. And I said, you know what? I offer all this health insurance. I'm going to have you pay 20% of your health insurance premium. Mm-hmm. And half my employees who had been covered for years and years and years and years dropped and said, I don't even want it because my husband has insurance.
Right.
I'm like, well, why didn't you tell me that the last 20 years?
Because they wanted it also. Yeah,
I just thought, well, that's nice. I mean, you didn't even want it, and I've been paying for it for 20 years. So, yep. Do you see? If someone goes to your website, humanresourceadvisors.com, what are they going to find on your website? What is your website about?
Our website gives some pretty general indicators of what we offer. We have a section for dentists because we have so many dental clients. Lately, we haven't set it up so you can order things directly from the website. And part of the reason for that is because while there are a lot of websites out there that give general information about stuff, most of everybody that calls us has a customized issue. And so they call, they get whatever they need, we send it to them. It's more of an introduction website. So we do a lot of training, a lot of mentoring, we do what we call the paperwork side of all employers, the handbooks, the forms, etc., and we do the guardian side. We try to keep you out of trouble. And so the phone rings all the time, and we do consulting. So it'll give you an overview, the website, and that's what you'll get from it.
And let's switch now to a different subject. I think when everyone saw the movie Horrible Bosses with Jennifer Aniston, now we're all afraid to go to the dentist because we're going to think the dentist is going to start sexually harassing us. No one wants to work in a dental office anymore because they're afraid Jennifer Aniston is going to start chasing them around the office. Did you see that movie?
No, I haven't seen it yet, but there are worse things than having Jennifer Aniston chase you around.
Well, it's funny because with they reversed it, because you'd think that plot would be a typical, guy chasing a young dental assistant. It was just so funny that it was to reverse the role. That here's this male dental assistant afraid of them working for a female dentist. But it's no laughing matter. Sexual harassment is not a laughing matter. Do you cover that in your manual? Is that an issue? Have you ever heard of stories from sexual harassment?
Oh, as I say, I will write a book one of these days, Howard. I'm a certified trainer in sexual harassment. I did a training yesterday. I did a training last week. Yes, it's a topic that I both am educated about, trained in, and do a lot of seminars, hundreds.
So the fact that I'm 53 and no one's ever sexually harassed me, do you think I've just been lucky so far, or what do you think that is?
Howard, I have to know you better.
So what do you hear about this issue in dentistry?
Okay. It's a very common issue, and we think because there's so much in the media that people kind of get it. They don't get it. As far as dentists, here's the issue with dentists. Dentists look at these women in their office, or men and women, as their family. And they think that they can say anything they want. And here's what's happened in my personal experience about the dentists who have been sued. One dentist said to his front desk people, I don't want to hire anybody that doesn't have big chest. So if the candidate comes in and she's not big, don't even send it to me. Well, the front desk person was well endowed. She didn't like it. And I was called in by an attorney to do an investigation there, and the guy, ended up having to make a serious apology. That's just a lightweight one. A lot of dentists use bad language, they joke, they banter, they think everybody's fine with it, everybody banters back. And then one thing happens that has nothing to do with that. They don't get a raise, something is annoying, something happens. And then they go to an attorney, and an attorney will cover everything. How does your dentist behave in the office? What does your dentist say? Are you afraid of your dentist? Yes, I'm uncomfortable, blah, blah, blah. Goes on from there.
Afraid of what?
They'll say anything. He creeps me out. He makes these sexual jokes and he thinks everybody likes it and we don't like it, etc. My word to dentists is that there is such a thing as professional sexual harassment. What that means is, as a professional, if you sexually harass patients, for example, and this is what that means. Most dentists do not sexually harass their patients, but even come on to them. Would you like to go out for coffee, a date? If they say no, to keep it up, etc. There is a separate and worse level of suit potential with professionals and their patients, real estate agents and their clients, doctors and patients. Anybody that has a professional relationship, it's called professional relationship sexual harassment. Do not think of your employees as your family. You can care for them, but they're not your family. They're your employees. You need to have professional distance and not behave like you do at home. You're not going to wear your slippers into work usually, so don't bring your home self into work. They will surprise you, and they have. We've been involved in a number of suits.
You said at the beginning you didn't cover Canada, but I just think it's wild. And in Canada, because of a male doctor working on his wife, they passed a law that dentists can't work on their wife, and the dentists are because you're not going to be. There's been a couple of weird cases. I don't want to go into all the details of these. Because about one doctor was doing a hysterectomy on his wife and he sewed her completely shut. There's been some crazy ass weird stuff that a male dentist has done to his wife as a patient during divorce and things like that. So Canada just wrote this blanket law. I think it was just one province. I think it was British Columbia, Vancouver. There's a thread on Dentaltown. But the dentists they went crazy because they legally can't work on their wife. And
that's another example of people legislating to stupidity. I just think that it's ridiculous. California has a lot of that. And on that subject, the National Labor Relations Board has condoned what I consider bad behavior. So, for example, the
National what?
Labor Relations Board, the NLRB. The National Labor Relations Board is pro-union, as you can imagine, but more than that, they keep weighing in on stuff, and to me, they are recommending bad behavior. Here's an example. There was a case called Dalton School versus David Brune, B-R-U-N-E. David Brune worked for the school. He was a drama teacher. He put on a play. The head of school didn't like it. She said various things about it. After hours, David Brune sent a message to all of the faculty saying what various things the head of school was, including making comments about her morality. Very negative. Next morning, she read this stuff and fired him. So he went to the NLRB, and the NLRB said, no, that's protected activity. So now, your employees can use your email system after hours or during non-work time to say bad things about you. And they can also say bad things about you on social media, and they can talk about their salary. They can ask each other what their raises are, and you are not supposed to punish them because it is called concerted activity. And if you want to Google it, go right ahead. Concerted activity is discussions about the workplace. So don't be saying to people you're not allowed to talk about your compensation, and don't get mad at people who use the practice email to say bad things about you.
So, another very common question is my assistant just gave 2 weeks notice. I just had this happen to me this year. My assistant of 15 years, her gosh darn husband gets transferred out to San Jose. I mean, I literally was verklempt and teary-eyed. I mean, I just loved her to death.
Yeah.
And Christina is gone now. And but so whenever they try to go find a new assistant, what are some best practices? Is it Craigslist? Is it where? How do you find people? What works? And then they also ask, like, do you have an ad, or should I just say dental assistant wanted Awatuki, or should I write some novel? You know, talk about how you find these great players that play for your team for a long time.
It depends on your location. Some places really people respond very well to Craigslist. Other areas of the country, not so much. When we do recruit, we have a recruiter and we do recruiting. We have a protocol that we go through, and this is the same kind of protocol that your dentist should go through too, Howard. You have to write an ad that works. So we help with that, but you have to write an ad. People are not just interested in dental assistant needed, part-time, great benefits. There's nothing catchy about that. An ad is a marketing piece. So you have to be able to write a good ad or get help writing an ad that's going to attract somebody. Why would somebody want to come to work for you in particular as compared to the guy down the street? So you have to put some of your personality into the ad. So yes, an ad should be placed in places that are going to have results. And depending on your locale, I use Craigslist because Craigslist here gets good results. Then secondarily, once you get all these resumes, you have to know exactly what you're looking for. What about people, you want somebody long-term? And well, look at their resume. Are they job hoppers or not? And then, I could have written their resume. So the resume isn't going to tell you anything truthful necessarily. If you interview them, you should have written questions. Why? Because it's likely you're not a great interviewer, with all due respect. And if you have written questions that guide you to finding out what you want to know, are you the kind of person who wants a chatty, outgoing, friendly dental assistant, or do you want somebody who has her nose or his nose to the grindstone, doesn't talk a lot because you don't like all that talking? How are you going to find out what kind of person this is? So your interview questions have to be written ahead and get you the information you need. Is that it? No, you should absolutely do background checks, not credit checks, but background checks. You want to know if this person's been arrested for stealing drugs out of your back cabinet in the next county over. So background check, and then the last and best thing that I really love, and I use it for my own practice, assessments. And the assessment that I like and that I had to go to school to be certified to sell this, it's called Work Traits, and it measures behavioral style, core convictions, and compatibility. It was created by some DISC people. So dentists have used DISC for years. If DISC is the hors d'oeuvre, this is the banquet, because it measures compatibility. It also measures things like pace. I cannot have somebody that's slow-paced working for me. They will hate me, and I will hate them. I cannot have it. So this measures things that go under the radar usually. And so you use an assessment as one of your tools. Checking references is vital. People say, you're not going to get anything if you check references. That's not true. We check references for a lot of clients, and people tell us stuff all the time. And if nobody will call you back and they tell you nothing, you've been told something important. But checking references is key, and people do tell you things. So if you have a process like that, the likelihood of your finding the right person is great. Better you have 2 or 3 days or a week or two without somebody than that you hire the worst person you've ever seen.
Okay, that was a lot of information. So these kids are young, they're under 30. They
Mhm.
just open up their office. It's a year or 2 year old. I first want you to go back to the tea leaves of looking at two resumes, and one has had 5 jobs in 5 years, and one has had one job for 5 years. Talk about that to her. What does that mean to you?
Assume nothing. If I could help people understand, don't just ask. Ask the one person, why did you have 5 jobs in 5 years? And see where they lived. If these 5 jobs were local, then they probably are from that area. If they were all over the country, they're probably going to leave you. But ask. This practice closed. This doctor retired. Various reasons don't indicate that this is somebody that can't stay. Somebody that's been somewhere longer is certainly a better bet because they'll probably stay with you longer. The first question I always ask in interviewing is, why did you leave? And beware of the person that says for a better opportunity, because they'll leave you for a better opportunity too.
Okay, number two, a background check. How do you do a background? Is that something you just Google internet background check? I mean, how does someone get a background check?
You can do the online cheap background check with iffy information, or you can go to a really good background check company that won't give you any information you're not supposed to have. Like I use Parkin Securities.
Park and Securities?
So Parkin.
Parkin.
Parkin Securities. And they know the law. They're not going to let you get in trouble. They're not going to give you information you're not supposed to have. But you sign up there, and then you tell them what you want to know. And I recommend that you do not only a criminal search, but a civil search. Because you don't want somebody who's being sued by their neighbors, their friends, their this is, their that. That's probably not going to be somebody in the community that you're going to want. So civil check and a criminal check is what I recommend.
Okay, and how much does something like that cost at Park? It's parkinsecurities.com?
Yes, and I recommend people just go and price that out. It's based on the number of counties. So if you have somebody that's lived in the same county, it's one county. It could be just, $30, whatever it is. Don't quote me though, Howard, because I don't know their
She
price.
said $30, and I'm a part-time lawyer on the side.
Yeah,
No, I'm
right.
just kidding.
Okay.
So it depends on how many places they've lived.
Right, because you
Okay.
want to search in all their recent counties. And so you will find out. When you sign up and you say, here's what I want to find out, they'll give you the pricing.
And on the assessment, you said if disc was the hors d'oeuvre, what was the bouquet or banquet?
Work traits. And
Worktraits.com?
yes, if you go there, of course, because I'm doing this webinar, I'd like you to call me and let me explain to you what you're seeing. You can't just order the assessment from the website and march on. You need somebody to tell you what you're looking at.
Okay, and you said if they should call you before they go to worktraits.com.
They can look at what it is on Work Traits, but sure, please call me and I will.
And what is your number?
925-310-4824.
So if you're in the bathroom right now, a Circle K right on the wall for a really interesting time, call 925-310-4824. And
Right.
then what? And then you're gonna online. Everybody's going to take this questionnaire, and then
Right.
you find out if the 5 people in your office are compatible.
Yes,
And then you would have a new hiree take that office to see if it matches the existing people in the office.
exactly. And we have the doctor take it. It's $50. It's $49.95. It takes 15 minutes
You
to
know,
do.
you should do more than one course on Dental Town because I mean, the problem with the kids is they all know what they know. They don't know what they don't know, and the problem with dental graduates is they've been told their entire life how smart they are. They always got 4.0s. They're always summa cum laude. So they just walk out of there and they're like levitating off the ground because everyone's told them, dude, you're the smartest boy on the block. So they just think they can just wing all this stuff. And you can't wing this stuff.
You can't wing it, and at the end of the day, it'll take one lawsuit, one complaint, and you will want to be able to say, we have processes. We have systems that work for us. And here's what they are, and here's why we're consistent, and here's why this person who's trying to get money out of me doesn't deserve a penny because they're wrong, and I can prove it. In the absence of that, they'll win. They'll win every time. And you'll have a hole in your bottom line.
The thing I'm not going to give up, I always stay true to myself, and I got a 4-year-old granddaughter, so I tell these kids, they always say, I don't want to know about this stuff. I want to know about clinical dentistry. And I always say that's because you're 30 years old.
Yes.
But when you're a grandpa, I'm telling you, HR is 100 times harder than a root canal build-up crown. And if you get an A in HR and a B or a C in everything else, you'll have a very happy career. And if you do the best root canals that have ever been done and you get a C or a D in HR, you will be an alcoholic before you're 50.
That's true.
I mean, it's just, and a lot of HR stuff apply. I got to tell you a breakthrough I had. I was married for 20 years and I never read a fiction book. All my books are textbooks, and anytime a thing I watch on TV is news or finance, or I just don't like fiction, which is weird because I love Star Wars, but that was about it. And I was always getting dragged to these damn what do you call chick flicks.
Yeah.
And you want to be the good husband, and you're trying to go there and all. And then one day it dawned on me. I was actually not daydreaming and pay attention to a scene, and then I realized, you know what? Movies are about people, and you need to change your attitude and start looking at fiction as an HR course, because people are so complicated. And now every time someone wants to watch what I would call garbage chick flicks, whatever, I'm like sitting on the edge of my chair trying to figure out, because you're always trying to wonder, like I can't get too specific because everybody on my team will figure it out, but you'll have like 2 people that should be the best friends in the whole office. Maybe they're both gay, or maybe they're both softball players, or there's something about these 2 where you think these 2 should be the best friends. And those are the most polar problems in the office. I mean, it's just so complex. And I got 50 employees, and I always think an NFL football team, they have 50 player rosters. Yeah. And the only, spring training is starting in football right as we speak. And the only thing that matters in the NFL is that you get the best 50 players. And you're always hearing these NFL stories. I got a couple of coaches from the Cardinals over the last 30 years, and they'll say things like, we got the best wide receiver, and he was going to be great, but then at the first barbecue, he slapped another player's wife on the ass, and now they won't get along. And it's just they got 50 young millionaire boys. Could you imagine if all your players could beat the crap out of you and made 10 times more money than you?
Yeah.
I mean, managing the NFL, that's got to be incredibly difficult. They're all a bunch of millionaire, prima donnas, and it's just everything. And if you're out there, I mean, you're always passing up HR information because you want more information on occlusion and TMJ. And I'm telling you, you don't get it. You gotta nail HR. And Barbara, you could help these kids so much. I mean, there's so many things. I mean, it'd take you a course just to do that assessment thing. But whatever. But so is there anything I wasn't smart enough to ask you about? Was there any issues we missed?
There are some things in the wind that you should be aware of, and your dentist should be aware of this. I got a phone call maybe a year ago now from a man named David Sohn, S-O-H-N. He is a lawyer, young lawyer in San Francisco, starting his law firm, might have a partner, I don't remember. Called me up and said, let's have lunch. I want to talk to you about something. I said, fine. So we went to lunch. David Sohn took on Western Dental, and Western Dental was represented by Littler and Mendelsohn. Littler Mendelsohn is the top employment law firm in the country. They have offices all over the place. And those are the big boys. And he won. And why did he win? He represented an associate working for Western Dental who was paid on a percentage of production basis. And he said to me, the reason I won is because the person was classified incorrectly. The other main pillar of your HR structure is classifying your employees correctly as exempt or non-exempt. Exempt means exempt from wage and hour law. Non-exempt means not exempt from wage and hour law. Most states follow the Fair Labor Standards Act, and you've undoubtedly read in the news that the threshold for exempt employees is going up to 47,000 something. In California, it's been about that rate all the way along because our rules, our wage and hour rules, are more complex than the FLSA. The point is, if you haven't classified people correctly, it's likely you're not paying them correctly. Dentists over the years have paid hygiene on a per diem basis. They paid percentage of collections and production and stuff like that. The problem is this: associate dentists are exempt from wage and hour law. That means they don't get paid overtime. Dentists are exempt from wage and hour. They're both under the professional exemption. Sometimes office managers or practice administrators are exempt if they're really running the practice for the dentist. Otherwise, everybody else is non-exempt. They're not exempt. The short version is, if you're exempt, you're paid a salary, the same salary, every payday. You're paid based on the job you do, not the hours you work. If you're non-exempt, you're paid based on the hours you work. So if somebody isn't there, they can be docked. So what happened in this case was, these associates at Western Dental were not paid a salary, therefore they were not exempt. Therefore, Western Dental owed them thousands in overtime. And in California, we have over 8 hours a day, and it's overtime. A couple of other states have that too. So that's the problem. If you are going to look at your employees, and there was a dental management guy that went around saying, make life simple for yourself, pay everybody on a salary basis, and you're good to go. Not true. Not true. You have to pay people that are non-exempt based on the hours they work, which means they have to keep time records. And in California, they better take a lunch, and it better be on the time record. Otherwise, you're going to be paying them incorrectly. And if that happens, you're, again, depending on your state, you're going to end up in a problem. Most states, dentists don't work 40 hours a week, and you're good to go. But you still have to keep time records. California, it's a mess. So if you're in California, make sure you've classified your people correctly, and you keep time records. Otherwise, you're just going to get whacked.
So how long have you been living in California? Were you born and raised out there?
Born and raised.
So I'm just curious, what is your feel? It's 2016. How is the state of the economy in California? I mean, compared to like 10 years ago, 5 years ago. I mean, do you think California's doing better, the same, or getting worse?
I have a lot of clients in California, and a lot of them are not dentists. I have clients in every single industry. It's better than it was certainly in 2008 and 9. I can tell. In just my business, I can tell because in 2008 and 9, I was doing a lot of layoffs and furloughs. People just couldn't afford, as you said, Howard, the payroll costs. It's certainly better than it was. People are hiring. So I think that the economy is better than then. I don't think the economy is as good as it could be. People are still a little hesitant. The other thing that I can tell just in my business about the economy is if people want to pay a recruiting fee for you to find them good people. When the economy is great, they're happy to pay the fee. They don't want to be bothered. They want a professional to do their recruiting. So recruiting, we have recruiting gigs right now.
So you do the recruiting?
Yes, I have a recruiter, a senior recruiter.
And what is the position mostly for? An associate dentist?
No. A lot of times we recruit for office managers, practice administrators. It could be anything like that.
Do you ever use the free classifieds on Dental Town?
I didn't know about the free classifieds.
Yeah, it's one of the most robust sections of Dental Town. We have, like on any given day, there's like 5,600 classified ads. Some of it's some of it's looking for an associate. A lot of it's we made it so. Right now you have all these dental graduates, and it's very hard to find a job if you're a dental graduate and you have no experience. That's why they all go to corporate. You know, a lot of these dentists say they hate corporate, but they won't hire any kid out of school. So you got to go to the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Indian Public Health Service, something, they get a job. But yeah, you can put in a photo. You can sell a practice. You can put a photo of your practice price. But it's a very robust section.
Good. I will use it. Thank you.
Yeah. And last but not least, I don't want to throw you under a bus. You're never supposed to talk about religion, sex, politics, or violence. But when you're a 53-year-old guy, you can't help to ask your fellow homie, so how's Jerry Brown doing? Because I've known, I mean, he was famous in the 70s, wasn't he? I mean, it seems like I've heard about this guy my whole life. So how long's he been governor out there?
A while. I think he's a couple of, well, he's been, as you say, his dad was governor and then he's been governor. He's pretty reasonable. He is pretty reasonable. And the problem with California and with San Francisco in particular is you have some very, and Berkeley and some of our other cities, you have a very, you have people who really want to take care of employees, which is a good thing. So California has paid sick leave. But then you have Berkeley and Oakland and San Diego and San Francisco. They have their own city paid sick leave, which means that if you are a dentist that has 3 offices and you have an office in San Francisco and one in Berkeley and one in Oakland, you have to have 3 different sick leave programs because they're all different. And California has another one. So what seems to be happening in California is we take care of our employees, and there's a lot of laws around that, but it puts a real burden on employers. And a lot of employers are moving out of the state because of it. So Jerry Brown does some good things. He seems to be pretty reasonable. But we had Gray Davis, who was pretty awful, and he passed what is commonly known as the Sue Your Boss law, SB 798, which put a penalty on our labor code, every part of it. And when Schwarzenegger was in office, he removed some of the penalties. But it's not enough that you do the right thing as an employer in California. If an employee goes to an attorney for anything, the attorney's going to throw in various things like you don't get lunches at the right time and blah, blah, blah. And you're going to be whacked because of the things in the labor code that carry a penalty. So I would like to see Jerry Brown or somebody do a lot more for the benefit of employers in California.
Well, it's just a game. I mean, look at Bernie Sanders. I mean, he's all rallying against the billionaires who control about 3% of all the money. And they're the bad guy, but he has no problem when the government controls 1/3 of all the money. Right. It's like he controls 1/3, the government, no problem. But these evil bastard billionaires who invented the iPhone, who invented everything new on 3% of revenue, and the government taking 1/3 of it, when's the last time they innovated one new product that you have in your house or put on a shelf?
Well, plus his numbers are all wrong. Anybody can go and Google who paid the most taxes in recent years on the IRS website, and he's just behaving like a politician. His numbers are all wrong in the first place.
Well, hey, to my homies out there listening, I know you just want to learn occlusion. I know you want to do. I get it. I'm a dentist. I'd rather pull 4 wisdom teeth than play golf. And what's the fanciest golf course in California? What is it? That Pebble Beach?
Pebble Beach, yeah.
I'd rather pull 4 wisdom teeth any day of the week than go play Pebble Beach. There's nothing more fun than someone coming in holding their face with a toothache, and you can fix that. I get it. But you got to wear several hats. You got to be masters in HR. You got to have a flair for marketing. You have to have a flair for accounting and managerial accounting and knowing your numbers. I mean, if you don't know if you're profitable, if you can't market yourself to supply of new patients, I mean, if a fireman never has a fire, he's not going to be very happy. So, but of all the specialties, after me doing this 30 years, HR is the hardest because after 54 laps around the sun, August 29th, I'll be 54. And what's weird about that is 54 laps around the sun, I am convinced that I am the only normal person living on Earth, and everyone else is completely crazy. It's just me and my cat. We're the only 2 normal people on this whole planet. You can't figure out the human mind. And it doesn't matter if it's your spouse, your kids, your patients, and if you don't legally cover your ass, and if you don't put all your eggs in trying to build a happy team, whether you're the Arizona Cardinals, the Phoenix Suns, or your dental office, you're not going to be successful. So, Barbara, thank you for all that you've done for 600 dentists. I hope you share the wisdom. So, on Dental Town, I'll show you right here. So, we started in 1998. So, we got 217,000 dentists on the website. And then your little California hippie friend, what was his name? Steve Jobs, shoved the internet into a Motorola Nokia phone. So we started that app, and now we got 50,000 dentists on the app. And so the millennials like taking CE on their iPhones. They just sit in their couch and plug in their headphones, and the views on these CE courses are crazy, and they need to learn what you're doing. How many years you been doing HR?
28.
Yeah, they're not even 28 years old.
No.
So thank you for all that you've done for dentistry, and a big shout out to my favorite woman on earth, Anne-Marie Gorsica.
Yep.
She's delivered me more rocking hot dental rock stars than anybody, and she's just. And I get to meet you because I'm lecturing for her coming up. Would you know when that is?
There, September 30th.
September 30th. And Ryan, you're going there?
Yep, I'll meet you.
Okay, we'll meet you. I'll be at the bar, and you can bring me some chips.
Okay, deal.
All right. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for spending an hour with me today.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much.